the reason why I got into bare knuckle, it was two things. One, because my missus fell pregnant with my little boy, and I was like, right, I need some money. My most favourite one was when I got to look after Jackie Chan. And I remember messaging back, I said, which one is it? Is it the guy that got knocked out or the guy who did the knocking out? And he went, no, it's the geezer that knocked him out. I said, oh, you're having a fucking laugh, yeah.
Welcome, Jack.
Thank you, mate. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being here, pal. Absolute pleasure, mate, to be honest with you. So, Jack, I mean, you've definitely got an interesting story that I'm looking forward to hearing all about.
Yeah.
But let's start it from the beginning, like a lot of our guests.
So growing up, for me, I had a loving childhood. I did have a loving childhood. Don't get me wrong, we wasn't well off or anything like that. We, my dad worked and my mum looked after me and my brother. We didn't have we had everything we needed. Didn't have everything we wanted, but everything we needed was there. I mean, the boxing side of things comes really from my dad. My dad's quite a tough man in my area. He's had stories upon stories, and he's always, as growing up, he's always telling me about these stories. And for me as a kid, I looked at my dad like he was my hero, and I still do to some extent. And
what was he like?
He's just I mean, to me, he was a big cuddly teddy bear. But then, as I got older, the stories that he was telling me about the fights that he'd been in, the things he'd done to people, I think, oh, fucking hell, right, this is...
You never expected that?
I never expected it. He's a big man. He was. I think he was about 6'4", and he was well over 20 stone. He was a very intimidating man to talk to and to speak to, but that was for outside. When inside, he was a big bear. Do you know what I mean? Big cuddly bear, and he always did his best for me and my brother. And yeah, it's weird that he also had that other side to him.
Yeah, you never saw that.
No, I never saw that. No, I mean, I can count on one hand the amount of times my dad's had to smack me growing up, and that was well overdue. I was a little shit as a kid. You know what I mean? And yeah, a lot
of us.
Yeah, just I wasn't bad, but I was more annoying than anything, and I'd always push the boat out and always push my dad's buttons, and eventually, over time, he'd probably flip. But yeah, it's I mean, he only had to raise his voice, and that was intimidating enough to tell him, like, for me to shut up.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, having that kind of man figure in my life, I think's definitely set a path for where I am now. Do you know
what were you like, as a whole growing up?
So I wasn't a popular kid when I was younger. I wouldn't say I was very popular at all. I had friends, but I was always the butt of everyone's joke. If that makes sense. I did suffer a lot of bullying growing up, all throughout primary school and all throughout secondary school as well. But I've always boxed as well. It's weird. I started boxing from around I think I was about 8 years old.
Oh,
when I first started boxing.
Age.
Yeah, so boxing's quite a popular thing to do in my town, in Chatham. It's a lot of young lads. There's been a lot of lads that could have gone far, but the pro boxing game's a bit more than just being able to box, isn't it?
Yeah,
so you've got to have a lot more. You've got to have a lot more about you.
It's a bit of substance.
So, yeah. So for me, like I said, the boxing thing was an escape.
Did you actually start in the boxing world then?
So yeah, I started off as a gloved boxer, but I didn't actually have my first fight until I was 17.
Right.
Yeah, I
still young though.
It's just it was young enough, but I mean, I just didn't take it seriously when I was younger. I loved my food and I loved being out with my friends, and I never would have stuck to a diet or anything back then. And even now, I find the diet part hard now. But back then, I wasn't. I'd go to the gym for a few weeks and then I'd stop for a little while, and then I'd back and forth, and yeah, and then the boxing side of it actually didn't take off, like I said, until I was 17. So.
Well, what do you feel like you got from it, like the boxing? Did it help you in any way, or?
A little bit. I suppose it just. I think for me it was more something to give me something to do, to keep myself, give myself like a goal, if that makes sense. Keep my mind occupied.
Yeah.
That's it, other than that, really, and a little bit of money here and there. It's not really done. Really done much considering. Not as much as I'd wanted it to.
Yeah.
If looking back, I've turned away some pretty good opportunities.
Have you?
In life.
How comes?
Because of boxing. because I've wanted to go further in boxing, and I've always put boxing first. And if like a new job offer had come up, and I'd be like, but I can't train. How am I going to train at this time if I've got to be here working? So I wouldn't do the job because I'd be worried about training. And the older I get, the less I'm starting to feel like that now with the fighting. I'm like, look, work's got to come first over everything. I've got kids to support now, so
yeah.
But yeah, looking back, it has took a lot of opportunities away from me, boxing.
So what was the first fight like for you at 17?
I lost my first ever fight. I lost it. I lost my first fight. I was scheduled to fight someone else, and then they pulled in another guy on the night before, and I had a good fight with him, but we were told that he'd only had a couple of fights and he'd been out of the ring for a long time, and as I said, I was only 17 years old, and he was a bit older than me as well. Can't quite remember how old he was, but he must have been in his early 20s, maybe 24, around about that sort of age. But my dad didn't actually say anything to me until after the fight, but my dad actually found footage of him fighting 10 years. I think it was 10 or 8 years or something like that before this fight, fighting an ex-pro on the unlicensed scene. So he'd been around for a long time.
Did you say on the unlicensed?
Oh, this is on unlicensed boxing, yeah. So I went straight from having no boxing matches straight into the unlicensed boxing.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, I kind of did everything arse about face. I did unlicensed boxing, then I did amateur boxing, and then that's when I got into the bare knuckle.
And what is unlicensed? Is it basically just unregulated?
Yeah, it's basically just anyone could get on an unlicensed boxing show now. There's just promoters put them on left, right, and centre. It's just a case of you message a promoter, I say you want to fight, he'll arrange a fight for you, and you sell tickets for him, and that's how you earn your money for it.
Right.
That's basically how it goes.
But you could be put up against anyone, any shape, any size.
It all depends on your promoter. They still obviously do all the weight classes and
they do.
all that sort of stuff. Yeah, but I mean, yeah, I've seen some pretty bad matchups in the unlicensed game. To be honest, people that shouldn't have been in the ring with other people.
Yeah.
But yeah, going back to my first fight. Yeah, like I said, I lost it, but we had a good fight. I wasn't fit for it. I didn't take the fight seriously, if I'm honest with you. I trained, but nowhere near as hard as I should have done.
Did it spur you on after? Is that like, did you get that?
Well, yeah, I had
kind of taste for it off.
Yeah, I had a little undefeated streak not long after that.
Did you?
I still, don't get me wrong, even then though, I took training more seriously. I was out doing the training stuff more, but I still didn't diet. I was like, look, I looked at it like I'm heavyweight. I don't care about having abs. I want my food.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I think in the end I had 8 unlicensed fights and I won 6.
You won 6?
I won 6 of them, yeah.
Did you make much money from it or?
It was normally around about £1,500 per fight.
Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
About 50. I think sometimes it was around about $2,000. It all depends on how many tickets you sell.
Yeah.
That's what it comes.
Yeah, it was the same concept. Yeah, because
Yeah.
we've had a few boxers on, and to be fair, it's exactly the same.
Yeah, it's the same in the pro game as well. If you can't sell tickets, you ain't gonna make it very successful in the pro game.
So out of all of that streaks, what was your would you say your hardest fight was?
There was a fight against a guy called Aaron Coughlin. I think it was my third. No, it was my fourth unlicensed fight. He was hard mentally. It was hard to get prepared for him because I was an 18, 19-year-old lad, and this geezer was a monster. He was an absolute monster. I remember seeing a footage of him, and it was like the camera angle was like from the corner facing up, and all I could see was this big geezer, and he was massive. Just come walking across the ring, touch gloves. They step back. He comes in, one punch, knocks the geezer out cold. Like not dropped him. He's asleep. And I remember when the guy that I used to train with, and it was his boxing show. He said, "Oh, I got you this fella. Here's a footage of him." And I remember messaging back. I said, "Which one is it? Is it the guy that got knocked out or the guy who did the knocking out?" And he went, "No, it's the geezer that knocked him out." I said, "Oh, you're having a fucking laugh, yeah." I said, "Bloody hell, it's only my full fight, do you know what I mean?" So I was like, "Yeah, all right then." I did it. And it's actually one of my favourite videos to watch back, the highlight reel of the actual knockout, because I stopped him in the third round.
Third round, did you?
Third round, yeah.
And what, you was 18 at that?
I was about 18, 19 I was, yeah.
Well, how old was he?
I don't actually know his exact age, but he was a lot older than me.
Was he?
Yeah, he must have been in. I think he was an ex He was in the army as well. He was ex-squaddy, and I don't know what regiment he was in, but yeah, he was a big lad. He was big, and honestly, it was the first time I've ever been physically scared going into a fight. But it turned out to be one of my best
outcomes.
Yeah, one of my best fights. Yeah, and it's been really good. A lot of people actually they look at the highlight reel of it, because when I knock him down, I steam into him with loads of hooks, and when he goes down, I lean over him and I start shouting at him, telling him to get up. I think me adrenaline just ran a mile. Yeah, it took over big time, and a lot of people go, "Oh, that's like when Lenny McLean beat up that mad Gypsy Bradshaw." Same sort of thing where he goes divvy at him, and a lot of people have said that it kind of reminds them of that same video.
Really?
So yeah.
Yeah, well, I'll see if is there video footage of it somewhere?
Yeah. My fight? Yeah, I've got it on my phone. I'll show you it. Yeah, I'll have to show you it.
We'll even see if we can incorporate it into the podcast.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, no, it's a good little highlight reel for me anyway.
Yeah. But you were quite young at that time.
I was. Yeah. So it was a scary fight. It was a scary fight, but at the same time, I learned a lot from that as well, because you use that fear as fuel. I learned how to do that. Do you know what I mean? And it kept me, when I was in the ring, it kept me on point. Didn't get lazy.
Alert.
Yeah, I was always alert. I was slipping shots. I was doing things that I never really did, because my back then my style was hands up, take everything on the gloves, and just have a fight. But then in the fight of him, I was slipping the shots. I was rolling under the shots and things that I just never did. But it's because I was so scared.
Yeah.
And
getting hit by him.
Yeah, I was so scared of getting hit by him. But I don't think like that now, though. It's weird, because obviously I was younger then. Now I don't look at someone and think I'm scared of being hit by him. That's gone.
Yeah.
Still get nerves, obviously, but that fear of being punched now that's long gone.
Yeah, I don't. I think. I don't have the fear of getting hit. That probably causes my problems all the time. I've been punched so many times in sparring in the past, and I feel like I can just take it a bit too much, and then after you're absolutely aching, your neck hurts.
That's it. So. You've got a bad headache.
Yeah, that's one thing I haven't mastered yet, of like all the slipping and moving, but. Yeah, it just takes time, doesn't it? Really?
It does, and it all depends on who's training you as well. Because, like I said, when I was training for fights back then, I was with a guy who he was a one-way pony. It's all he could do. That's all he knew how to do. And then it was just all he did was have his hands up, take shots on the gloves and on the arms, and come in like that. Now I'm with my trainer Pete, who's been my trainer now for the past 6-7 years. He's
a lot more movement.
He has brought a completely different style out of me. Now I can have my hands down now in sparring, and so it's hard for people to hit me.
Yeah.
So it's because I'm always moving, slipping under shots, and that's how you should be. It's boxing. It ain't standing there being punched. You're not supposed to let people hit you. Do you know what I mean? It's hit and not be hit.
Well, I remember I was talking to my trainer about it as well, and he was saying about Floyd Mayweather, and he was saying like how Floyd just makes these little tiny movements, like to dodge punches, not like big movements, but just enough where he can dodge the punch, but still limit how much energy he uses. It's like it's a skill.
It's those kind of things that my trainer Pete does as well. Like he'll and the thing is with Pete, he'll be at home and he'll be watching fights and he'll be studying stuff, and then he'll bring it into the gym. So right, we've got to work on this. And I remember one because we do a lot of drilling in the ring. It's obviously we have our normal sparring drilling, so you drill certain moves.
Okay.
Yeah, certain moves, but it's like he tries to make it as real life as possible. So he'll tell the guy, "You're throwing this punch. I want you to hit him." He said, "I don't want you to just tap him." He said, "I want you to hit him so he can actually try and work on it." And things like that. And like you said about, it's only those slight little movements that you need to be able to make a miss or to block a shot. And something as simple as, like, say if someone's got their guard out a little bit longer than normal, all you've got to do is just put your hands, hover it over their gloves. Things like that. And then they rush into you, and a lot of people, if say like they steamed into you, you back off.
Right.
But he said if you steam into them and you catch them, now you've smothered their work and you've got your gloves over their gloves.
Over theirs.
So now they can't really move. I think little things like that is. But back in the day when I first started, I didn't even know what stuff like that was. It weren't until I got with Pete, and honestly, Pete's phenomenal when it comes to knowledge of boxing, and the man can still fight himself. He's nearly 50, and he's my main sparring partner.
Oh, is he really? Yeah, he's sparring.
He spars everyone.
Yeah.
He still fights. He still goes around the country and he fights all the top-and-comers, all the up-and-coming fighters in the unlicensed game, and Sometimes he wins, sometimes he loses.
Yeah,
but he don't care.
It's not really about that, is it?
No, but he's
I think there's a lot. I think you can get things from losing though as well. So
Yeah.
like while nobody wants to lose.
No, of course
ever.
not.
Like I think there's a lot to be like learned from that.
Yeah, there is
that side of things.
And Pete as well. He's got his own story to tell. He's been around some. I mean, we're going back to like Lenny McLean, Roy Shaw days, and when they fought for the governor title, which was through Joey Pyle. And they all started doing unlicensed boxing at Caesar Palace in London. Pete's around that era. Like he fought at Caesar Palace on the unlicensed scene, and he was kept. Joey Pyle Jr.'s got a book out, and he's got Pete, talks about Pete in it, and he says that Harry kept Pete away from all the governors at that time because Pete would have gone through them all. Do you know what I mean? And the governor title was a heavyweight title, and Pete's not a natural heavyweight. I think Pete's only about 5'11", 5'10".
Okay.
And he's I think now he's about 16 stone, but back then he was about 14 and a half, 15.
Yes.
And that's a very small heavyweight in the heavyweight division. But he would still wipe the floor of all of these people. Honestly, Pete alone's got his own story to tell, mate. That man's done some things.
How'd you meet Pete?
This is a funny thing. Me and Pete actually didn't get along at first. Well, say we didn't get along. We was wary of each other because I fought for a promotion that didn't get along with him. Because he had his own promotion doing unlicensed boxing. So he was kind of like rivals in Chatham in the Medway area. And me being me, I'm respectful enough to stay loyal to my promotion. And whenever I saw Pete in the gyms and stuff like that, I'd be like, you're right, mate. That's it. That's all I would give him. I wouldn't say nothing more to him because I was loyal to them. And then when I fell out with them, I went off and did my own little thing for a little bit of time. And I knew that Pete, because I wanted to get into the bare knuckle game, I knew Pete had contacts in bare knuckle because I see that he'd trained another fighter called Craig Amar, who's from Dover. And he'd been up and down the country with him, taking him to bare knuckle fights. So I thought, wow, well, he'd be the man to speak to if I want to get involved in the bare knuckle world. So I messaged him and said, like, can you help us out? And he said, yeah, come down to the gym, we'll do a bit of training. And it just went from there.
Yeah, did it?
And now he's the godfather to my son. He's my godfather as well. And it's a beautiful relationship that's grown from basically hating each other or not liking each other. So it's weird.
So what was the desire around getting into bare knuckle?
It was a couple of things. I mean, the first time I ever watched a bare knuckle fight in real life was my dad took me to go watch one. It was two lads who had a problem with each other. They had a straightener, and
as you do.
Yeah, as you do. Yeah, and it was quite a bigger thing. It was there was loads of people. There must have been about 60, 70 people there, and it was down the road from where I lived on this field. And I can remember watching it. Even I must have been about 12 or 13 when this happened. And I remember watching it then, and I think, oh, this is mad. This. So even back then, kind of, sort of, it planted a seed, if anything. And then the reason why I got into bare knuckle, it was two things. One, because my missus fell pregnant with my little boy, and I was like, right, I need some money. And I heard there was some good money floating around in it. And the second reason was because everyone in Chatham and Medway was becoming a boxer. Like, guys that... Listen, I'm all for people going and doing an 8-week training camp that's never had a fight before in their life and going in there doing a white-collar fight, which is fair play to you. It takes bottle to get in the ring. But when you got someone like myself who's done it for years and years and years, and then you got someone who's only done it for 8 weeks, and now someone's putting that person and me in the same sentence, I'm like, nah.
Yeah.
Nah, that's like, in my eyes, that's a little bit disrespectful.
Yeah, makes sense.
I've had loads. I did loads of fights. I've had loads of all these things, and all these guys never had a fight in his life, and now someone's saying, oh yeah, you're doing the same thing as him, ain't you? And I'm like,
that makes sense though, because you've devoted years and years and years into something. Yeah, and people come around the corner.
So and then there's no one in Chatham that does bare knuckle boxing apart from me.
Oh really?
Yeah, I'm the only person that does it. Yeah, there's people in Kent that do it. There's about 3 or 4 fighters in Kent that do it, but I'm the only one from my hometown that does it. So what happened? So you was in the unlicensed boxing scene.
Yep. You had your streak of winning.
Yep.
And is that what happened? Then you transferred?
No. So I was actually going to try and have a proper crack at. I wanted to turn pro.
Did you?
But I thought, right, to turn pro, I've got to go through the unlicensed route first. I thought at least, because I'd experience in boxing, I'd sparred pros all the time, and I was better than a beginner amateur, if that makes sense. So I thought, right, I'll turn amateur. I'll try and at least win the Haringey, and maybe get the ABAs in if I can. And then once I've done that, turn over. It's a very touchy thing going from unlicensed to pro. Only a few fighters have done it and been successful, and there's been a few that have been very successful from it. Fabio Wardley, done it. Anthony Yard, done it. But Anthony Yard obviously had an amateur background as well, but he was also an unlicensed fighter as well. Nick Blackwell, another one who did it.
What's the stigma there?
It's because a lot of pros that they go for the amateur route and they turn pro. Now, unlike a lot of unlicensed boxing, you can get very, very good fighters in unlicensed boxing, and you can get very, very terrible fighters in unlicensed boxing. So no one quite knows where you're at. If you've won the ABAs, the Haringey, promoters can look at you and go, you've got something.
Yeah.
Whereas someone goes, you're coming from an unlicensed scene, straight away promoters will be like, well, who have you fought then? Because like I said, you can fight your next door neighbour on an unlicensed show if he decided if he wanted it, yeah. So that's where that comes from. But so I decided I wanted to go amateur, and at the time I was working as a hod carrier. So
what's a hod carrier?
Basically a bricklayer's labourer.
Oh, okay.
And it's hard graft. It's constant all day hard graft, constantly bricks on your shoulders, muck on your shoulders, and it's But I was doing that. I was going running on my lunch break, and then going back to work, and then I'd go to the gym in the evenings. And my first amateur fight, I fought Tom Welch, who's doing well in the pro game now. It's Scott Welch's son. He was my first amateur fight, and we had a very good fight. I lost on decision, and I thought, you know what, I'll take that. He was an experienced amateur. He'd had, I think, 22 or 23 amateur fights. He'd won the ABAs. He'd won Haringey. He'd won a fair few things. So I thought, yeah, my first fight, I'll take that. That wasn't too bad. I only lost by points. And then my second amateur fight, I stopped the guy in the first round. That was at Millwall Football Stadium. Third fight, I won by points, and then my fourth fight, I lost. I went over to Guernsey and fought over there. And I thought I won the fight, if I'm honest with you. But it was a good fight. It was a war. We got bout of the season.
It was given to him.
Yeah, it was given to him because he's a hometown fighter.
Yeah, right.
And this is an ongoing thing that goes on in amateur boxing. There's robberies left, right and centre when it comes to decisions.
Yeah.
And I walked away from it like, do you know what? Oh, fuck this. I just said, I'm going to work every day, grafting my arse off, running to the gym after work for a decision to get robbed. Like I said, I ain't.
That's what happened to my friends as well, to be fair. I think, and that's how they lost the love for it. Because it's almost like if you don't click in that, if you're not in that circle of the right people in the right places, you're almost like put to the side, and you're just basically used, aren't you? But
pretty much, yeah. And so then after that, I was like, you know what, I can't be asked for this anymore. And then I stopped boxing again for a little while. And then I actually decided to. This was around about the time I met Craig and all that sort of stuff, and that's when the army situation came into it. I was going to join the army,
right?
I kind of thought, you know what? If I can box, if I could do a bit of boxing, I'll do it in the army. So I went away. I had to lose. I lost 6 stone in 6 months.
Did you?
Because when I went to the army careers office. They do your BMI checks and your weight. And my BMI was far too high, and they said you've got to lose weight. So I said okay. So they told me how much I had to lose.
What would you have weighed? Because you're quite tall.
I was about 21 stone.
21. So you got down to about 15.
I got down to 15 stone.
Yeah, did you? That's
6
impressive.
months. Yeah. And I went back, and they couldn't believe it when I went to the careers.
Yeah, I bet they
couldn't believe it.
And how'd you do that?
I was just dieting and running every day. That's all I did, running. I didn't go running didn't go loads of miles. Did a mile and a half, because a mile and a half's the entry to get into the army. You have to be able to do a mile and a half in a certain amount of time. Okay. So I just kept doing that every single day till I could beat my scores.
You remember what that time?
I think at the time it was about 10.5 minutes.
10.5 minutes, okay.
Yeah, to run a mile and a half, something like that. 10 minutes, 45 seconds, something like that. It's changed again now. I think now you just have to do a bleep test. But that's what it was at the time, and I just kept running every day until I could beat it. And even when I could beat it, I'd still wanted to do it faster. So that's all I did. But yeah, because of the diet that I was on, And the running, the weight just fell off me.
Did it? Yeah.
So
And what units, like, what unit did you go into?
So when I was, because this is the thing, I didn't actually get into the army because I wanted to go for the PWRR, which is the Princess of Wales Royal Regiment. It's a southeast-based regiment. It's an infantry regiment as well. But what happened? So I went and lost all the weight. I went back to the careers office. I had to send off all my doctor's forms and all that sort of stuff. And then a back injury came up from, I think it was about 2.5 years previous to me doing the army. And it was because of a fight in a nightclub. Someone jumped on my back and I pulled my back out, basically. And I was in agony. I was in absolute agony. So I went to the doctors about it. Didn't know what to do. And all the doctors gave me was painkillers. It didn't do anything. So I went and saw an acupuncture. 2 sessions, bang, back sorted.
But they still recorded down.
Because it's recorded and because it's a back injury, what they wanted me to do, they wanted me to do a further 6 months fitness diary to prove I didn't have a bad back anymore.
A fitness diary?
Yeah, so basically I had to print off this thing that they sent me on email, and it basically had like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then like your activities that you're doing.
Okay.
And in my eyes, it was bollocks. I mean, look, I went away and I lost 6 stone in 6 months. If I had a bad back, do you think I'd be able to do that?
And what did you do? Fill it out yourself?
Yeah, you fill it out yourself. And this is the thing, I lied on a lot of it.
Yeah.
I don't get me wrong, I was still running and still keeping myself fit and doing what I had to do because I wanted to join the army. But I've just spent 6 months losing weight. Now I've got to spend 6 months doing this bit of paperwork that don't even need to be done.
Yeah.
I tried to appeal it. They said, go see a back specialist. I went and paid to see a back specialist. He gave me the all clear, wrote him an email, declined it. So I was like, oh, fuck's sake. And then as the 6 months fitness diary was coming to an end, that's when I met my missus.
Right.
And then not long after being with her, she fell pregnant with my little boy. And it was like, I told her, like, I'm supposed to be going in the army. I was like, I'm supposed to, like, because once I sent it off, they agreed. They said, right, okay, this is sweet. Yep.
Did they?
Then they gave me my assessment date. What? All I had to do was go to that assessment date, pass the test, and I would have been in. I would have been off for my 6 months training. But because my missus fell pregnant, I didn't want to be away training while she was going to be giving birth.
Yeah, 100%.
I did call the army up and I said, look, will I be able to leave the training if she gives birth, like if she goes into labour? And they said, yeah, but obviously we can let you go, but we can't guarantee that you'll get there on time. And I was like, nah, I'm not missing my child's birth. So I just basically put the army on hold. And at the same time, as much as it will probably be one of my biggest regrets in life not joining the army, because it is something I really, really wanted to do. But if I had have gone in there, would I have gone down the bare knuckle fighting route? Because I probably wouldn't have.
I do think there's a lot to be said about, you know, things happen for a reason.
Yeah.
And it is very true. Like, had this sequence of events not happened, then this doesn't end up unfolding.
Because my plan was to go in the army, I mean, at first I was planning just to do my 4 years and maybe get out. And my plan was to immigrate to America and work for a security company over there who did, because they've made weed legal over there. And they have armed security guards that cover it all, yeah. I actually emailed a company even before I'd got into the army, because you have to be ex-military to do it, and basically told them the situation. Said, look, I'm joining the army. Would you even consider hiring anyone from the British military? And they said, yeah, of course we would. I said, well, it's a long way off yet, but this is where I'm at. And they said, okay, well, when you're ready, email us again and we'll see what we can do to help you out. I had it all planned in my head, what I wanted to do. I wanted to move to America and live over there, and then and it just all that just went. It
weren't an opportunity to smoke a lot of it as well.
I don't smoke.
No,
I don't smoke. Yeah, I don't smoke or drink really. So
yeah, have you? Is that always been?
No. I think I drunk more when I was 14, 15 than what I have as an adult.
Wow, really?
Yeah. I was always at house parties as a kid. Going off drinking and stuff like that. Now the only time I'll have a drink is Christmas.
Yeah,
Christmas Day,
really.
Boxing Day, and that'll be me.
And how long's that been for?
Probably, I'd say the last 6 years or so.
That's very.
Don't get me wrong. That's not because I feel I'm an alcoholic or anything like that. That's just because I don't really like drinking that much. If I'm at a barbecue or something, then maybe I'll have a drink.
Yeah,
but it's not on my. I don't wake up and think, oh, I'm gonna have a drink today. It's that's the last thing that goes through my mind. So yeah, I don't know. It's just not. It's not.
And it's always a bit difficult because with training, it obviously contradicts each other.
Yeah, it does.
So I think if you're serious about your training and your career and stuff like that, you want to make sure that you're everything you're doing, you know. And if it's a worst case scenario, it's just the food, then you can kind of live with that, can't you? A little bit.
Exactly. Yeah, it's just that's what I mean. That's what I used to say to people all the time. Like, a lot of people, they live for the weekends. They want to go out clubbing. They want to go out drinking and being with their friends. My going out clubbing is staying at home and having a nice takeaway and watching a film.
Yeah.
That's what I do. It's just
to be honest, it was exactly the same for me. Like growing up with all my mates, we was you know, clubbing, bars, pubs, whatever you can think of.
Yeah.
And there was that cultural thing growing up in our town.
Yeah.
Where it was just like partying all the time.
Yeah.
But it's I don't know if it's an age thing, but you know, some people are still doing it even at my age.
Yeah.
But as I've got to like 33, I'm just like I've got too many things that I'm responsible for that I've got to try and make sure I'm on the straight and narrow. Yeah,
definitely. And I think as well, there was a couple of things that happened when I was drinking, and this was around about the same sort of time I got with the missus and I started doing the bare knuckle fighting. Because I was 22 years old at this time.
Okay.
When I first started it, and I don't. What happened was
that's young as well, isn't it? Like to get into that scene.
What happened was, I was out with a load of friends. We was having it was all the lads from my gym. We was all out having a nice meal, and I was one of the guys who trains with us was the manager at this bar. So we got drinks on the house all night pretty much, and we took the piss as well. We made sure we was having doubles and triples and everything else.
Got messy very quickly.
It got messy very quickly, and I remember the same night I had a little bit of I wouldn't say an argument with someone, but a few words were said with someone, if I remember rightly. I can't remember who it is to this day, but I remember I was stumbling all over the place. I was so drunk, it was a joke. And I just remember feeling very vulnerable. I woke up the next day and thinking, if that went off with this geezer, I was in trouble. And I also drove myself home that night. And I don't know how fast I was going, but I was home very quickly. And I'm lucky to still be here, to be honest with you. And that's something I swore I'd never do, because that's how my cousin passed away.
Really?
When I was 15 years old, my cousin passed away in a car crash. And I swore I'd never drink and drive. And I did. And I was so devastated in myself for doing it. And like I said, and I don't like the fact that being out and having the reputation of a bare knuckle fighter, and
being out on
a night out, and because
it creates a stigma, like an atmosphere.
Don't get me wrong. There's some places I can go to have a drink, and it's the most sweetest night ever. You won't have no ag, but that's why I don't really go out much anymore, because you never know. You never know which dickhead's had too much sniff or whatever and wants to try and prove himself by beating up a bare knuckle fighter. And I know what I'm like when I get drunk. I'm all over the place. So I don't like having that vulnerability, and I don't want them to feel like they've got an advantage over me because I'm drunk. Yeah. Now, if I go out and I'm sober and someone starts, it's a different situation, because I know I'm fully in control of what I can do and my capabilities.
100%.
But when I'm drunk, I'm not, and I really don't like that feeling. So
well, it could get even worse, can't it? Anything can happen.
Well, yeah, I could seriously hurt someone, because I don't know what I'm doing. But at the same time, I'd just rather not be in that situation, so I don't really drink.
Yeah, fair.
And if I do drink, there's only one place I'll go, and that's, believe it or not, is the Hells Angels clubhouse in Kent, because it is such a chilled out night there. They sponsor me, so.
Oh, do they?
Yeah, so if I was to ever go out and have a drink, that's where I go.
Yeah, really? Yeah, how did that come about, them sponsoring you?
So I become a supporter of the club a few years ago.
And is this like Hells Angels, exactly like what I'm thinking about in America? Hells
Yeah. The same. Yeah.
Is it really?
They're worldwide.
Yeah.
They're worldwide. They're a massive motorbike club. So I became a supporter a few years ago, because I knew someone that knew him, and I sort of went with him a couple of times and stuff like that. And then as a supporter, one of the things, like if there's a member of the back club in jail or something like that, write him a letter, show you support. There was a guy called Smudge who was in jail at the time. I sent him a letter, said, my name's Jack Draper, blah, blah, blah. I'm a supporter of the club and hope you're well, and if there's anything I can do for you, let me know. And he wrote me back, and he went, Jack Draper. He went, are you Sean Draper's boy? I said, yeah, I am, yeah. And obviously we had this what I told you earlier about me and my dad having this ongoing thing about, you're Jack Draper's dad, aren't you? Or you're Sean Draper's boy. But yeah, he went to school with my dad. And this guy is like one of the top guys in the Hells Angels in Kent, yeah. And So when he was due to be released, I think like 4 or 5 months after I wrote him a letter, he said, when I come out, he said, send me your number. He said, I'll ring you. And the first day he got out, he rang me. And I went and had breakfast and out of him, and it just went from there, really. And and then he just introduced me to all the boys in the club, and I've been to a few places around England now.
And when you say you're like a supporter of them, like, support of what? What do they actually?
So when you say you're a supporter of the club, I mean they'll put like merchandise out and stuff like that.
Right.
You wear their tops and you support them. So you go to their events.
Right.
Like whenever they put an event on, you'll turn up and you'll go to their events. You go to their clubhouse, which is like, you buy your drinks and anything like that. It's just supporting them.
Yeah, fair.
So
fair.
it just means it, like, because obviously there are other motorbike clubs out there, and some of them don't get along.
Right. Okay,
but it's like I support. It's no different to supporting a football team.
Yeah.
But I support a motorcycle club. Do you know what I mean? And with that, they sponsored me for the fighting, so they help me out where they can with stuff, and yeah, it's really good. It's good bunch of blokes.
Nice.
So, yeah.
So the bare knuckle, fighting. Do you remember your first fight with?
Yeah. So I fought for BKBTM. It's one of the biggest bare knuckle promotions in the country. Still going strong now. I messaged the promoter and was like, look, I'm interested in having a fight. First thing I wanted to find out was how much are you paying. Told me how much it was and the percentage of ticket sales. I said, okay.
How much was it?
My first fight was £500 purse and 50% of ticket sales.
50%.
50%. So, but I got quite a good
fan
following.
base.
Good following. So, and with it being bare knuckle and being my first bare knuckle fight, I knew I was going to shift the ticket. And I think for the first fight, I made just over $3,000. Thought, right, yeah, I'll take that.
It's not bad.
And the reason why I did it was because obviously my missus was having the baby, and I thought, I need some money.
Yeah, get some dough.
And that's what happened.
Was that what you were doing for work at the time?
No, I was still hod carrying at the time.
Oh, okay.
I was still a hod carrier, yeah. But yeah, so I got into through the bare knuckle fighting through this promotion, and I fought a guy in my first fight called Shannon Rich, who's an American, and he's had well over 200, might even be 300 MMA fights now. He's been fighting since the early 90s, I think. He's very, very experienced, and he's had a few bare knuckle fights as well from like the early 90s when it was no holds barred sort of fighting. He's fought on loads of platforms. He fought over in Pride. He fought over there. He fought Frank Shamrock, Jake Shields, I believe he's fought. Sakuraba, he's fought him. He's been all over the world fighting everyone, and and he was my first bare knuckle fight, and we had an absolute tear up. He at the same time it was another learning curve for me because he came out. I was expecting bare knuckle fighting to be very
calculative.
Yeah, like I was expecting, because obviously if you throw a big shot bare knuckle and you miss and you hit the top of their head, your hand's gone. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, so you've got to be a lot more. I was expecting it to be a bit more of a slower pace, and everyone's got to be very like you've got to be cautious with the shots you throw, and you've got to be accurate. I thought that's how the fight was going to be.
Yeah, 100%.
He come as soon as that bell went, he come running out of the corner and just swinging haymakers at me. And with boxing, it's all right. You put your hands up, you've got gloves to protect you. Bare knuckle, you haven't. So those shots are coming through and they're hitting clean.
Yeah. Because it's only a little like...
Yeah, it's a little fish, yeah. And he got me pinned into the corner and he caught me with an hook. And I remember my legs going. And like, if the ropes weren't there, I probably would have been on my arse. But I got back up and we come back out and I'm bang, caught him with a jab and I dropped him with a jab. I thought, oh, fucking hell. And it's like, right, we've got to fight now. He's just wobbled me. I've just put him down and we're sort of back at it. And then the bell went. And after that, I don't remember nothing. I don't even remember it going to the second round.
Oh, really?
Yeah. That punch he caught me with in the corner switched me off.
Blacked out a little bit.
Yeah, but because I was so fit, my legs were just like, nope. Like, it's almost like half of me wanted to say, yeah, go down. And my legs were like, nope, you stand up. And then, yeah, we got back to the corner and my trainer's wiping my face. My nose was busted. Both my eyes were swollen. He's sorting me out in my face and he goes to me, are you all right? I go, yeah, I'm sweet. He goes, all right. He goes, that's all I need to know. And so we come back out in the second round, same sort of thing. He comes rushing out again, and I caught him with a couple of little combos and put him down again, and that was the fight.
Yeah.
But yeah, I learned a lot from that first fight, and this one is don't make a game plan, because my game plan for that fight was to keep it a boxing match,
Yeah,
and it was not.
calculative.
It was as soon as that first combination come flying at me, my game plan was boom, straight out the window. So
the thing is, it's like there's levels to this. Like with boxing, like that's what I like about the pros. It's like a gentleman. It is a gentleman's sport.
it is, yeah.
Amateurs a bit wild, a bit all over.
it can be,
It can get a bit excitable. But when you talk about bare knuckle boxing, like it's just a whole nother level that you're contending with. To be fair,
Yeah, it is, and
that was a big wake up call, I imagine.
It was because now I'm going into these next fights like anything can happen, because like I said, it's not like being hit with a glove on.
No, there's no padding. But what are you wearing? Any
See, then we had hand wraps.
hand wraps?
Hand wraps on. Now
Is that it though? Just hand.
that's all it was. It was just hand wraps. Now nothing.
Nothing.
All you have is a bit of tape around your wrist and around your thumb.
Oh, is that
Your
what
knuckles
it
are
is?
completely
No,
exposed.
It's not
yeah.
gloves or any.
Nothing. Yeah, it's completely exposed now. And this is the thing as well, like, because I see a lot of pro boxers having digs at bare knuckle fighting, and
Why?
I don't know. I mean, I
More
can't.
of a rough sport. Do you reckon?
I think
it's,
I can't speak for everyone, but I think it's down to a lot of pros think that they can get in there and do it because they're a professional boxer and they're really good at technical boxing. And, But you get into a bare knuckle fight and it's not a boxing.
It's a whole
match.
nother game.
It's a fight, and I've seen good pro boxers get sparked in bare knuckle because it ain't like being hit with a glove on. As soon as that bone hits that bone, it's game over. It doesn't have to be a massive punch either, but.
I can imagine you get a lot more injuries as well, like in bare knuckle.
So yeah, you get a lot more facial injuries,
Right.
but you don't get a lot more of internal injuries you do in pro boxing.
Right,
And the reason for that is because you hit someone as hard as you can bare fist, chances are you're going to break your hand. Now, you try and throw another hard punch again with a broken hand, you ain't going to be able to.
Yeah, no chance.
Now, you hit someone as hard as you can with a boxing glove on, and then you can do it again,
Yeah.
and again, and again.
right.
And the brain is now taking loads more damage than what it should do. Don't get me wrong, in bare knuckle, it looks worse.
Yeah, it does. Yeah,
You're coming away
Externally.
with externally, like you're coming away with big, massive bruises, cuts, and teeth missing, and split lips, and everything else. I even see one guy, he got caught with a shot, and his ear was hanging off.
Yeah, that's insane.
But I would take that over brain damage, and obviously your knuckles as well. Your knuckles and hands can take a bit of a pasting, but internally,
You've got to be a certain type of breed to do bare knuckle. I'm like, I like to have that passion towards a sport, to go in there, and like it's quite interesting, and like you carry yourself. You're a very humble guy. Like you carry yourself so well, so it's not even like you don't even give me the impression you got.
Don't get
like,
me wrong,
something
though.
with you.
There's a lot of people in bare knuckle that ain't like me.
Yeah,
do you know what
yeah.
I mean? You have got a lot of lads that are rough and ready, and they're as game as you like. They're still game as you like. But with me, I think it's where I come from, a humble background, and I don't have a lot of these guys. They come from rough upbringings, in and out of prison, in and out of trouble with the police. I don't come from none of that. I come from a working family. I've grown up with loving parents, and then I've gone off and I've now made a family of my own, and now I've got to prepare for them.
It's quite interesting though, because knowing what you were kind of like briefly talking about your dad, it's very much sounds like he was protecting you from that.
He was
environment.
He was. He hates the fact.
Besides,
I went
you to a fight 14 a bare knuckle.
Yeah. But that's the same thing though. He every time he'd tell me a story, he'll always finish it off with "There's nothing clever about it." Though he'll always say, "There's nothing clever about what I've done." And he as much as he didn't want to glamorise it, which he didn't, he always told me that he shouldn't have done this, it shouldn't have happened, and he's wrong. But as a kid, I'm like,
yeah, you used to get like quite excited.
Because I saw the respect that he had. I've seen him go to places, and everyone's like, "Sean, how are you? Didn't buy you a drink." And for me, that's, as a kid, I wanted that. But at the same time now as well, it's like my dad always used to say to me, "You'll understand when you've got kids of your own." And that, trust me, I fucking do. And now I look at how the world is now, and I look at my son's got to grow up, and they've got to be out there in how kids are behaving now. And I don't want them around that lifestyle either. As much as I want my boys to be able to box and look after themselves, I don't want them out on the streets. I don't want them.
I think the world has changed a lot since your dad's era, because now like people pull out knives.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Like,
it's different.
Anything can happen like on the streets these days.
But do you know what? Though I spoke to my dad about that, and he said the same thing. He says, look, he says, as much as it is happening more. He said, but it did happen in my time.
Yeah,
he said, but you just don't hear about it because there ain't social media back then. He said it did go on. People got stabbed all the time. Yeah. People got shot. People got run over. People got beat up with weapons. He said that stuff went on all the time.
So so if anything, then it's probably better that we know about it now, because people are more conscious about.
It is, yeah. I suppose
where their kids are going to be, what environments they're putting them in.
I think the thing that's changed the most is it's the kids' mentality, because back then there was a thing of respect. He said if let's say like you got a family, you see a man, a wife and his kids, you know he's not about that life. He gets left alone. You won't touch him unless it's an absolute scumbag, drug addict who wants to rob him.
I know.
Right, so if you're a tough man, he's a tough man, and you two have got beef, it's between you two.
Yeah.
You ain't gonna go and attack someone who's innocent if they look like that way. Now, kids don't care. Kids they will not care if you've got your missus and your kids with you. If they want your shoes, or if they've seen you draw money out the bank, they want it. They're taking it. They don't care who's with you. There's no respect no more.
No boundaries.
And that's the difference. There's no. Back then it was kind of like a code, but now that's gone. Everyone's all for themselves kind of thing now. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Anyone's can be a victim now. Yeah.
And I can only imagine when you do have kids that your mindset completely changes. I think it's always different when it's just you yourself, but when it's like it's something you've got to look after somebody yourself.
And it's weird because I can see my youngest boy Rome. He looks at me the way I looked at my dad, and he's with the fighting and stuff like that. He's with me all the time. He's been in the gym since he was 4 months old, and he loves it. And I can, as much as I said, I want him to learn it because it can be beneficial.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't want him to go. I don't want him to be out in the streets.
Nah, you've got to control.
Yeah,
like funnel it into the right place.
Honestly, it kills me to even think about it. Like if someone was to do something to him one day, and I don't know how I'd be able to cope with it. I really don't.
But it does go back to, if it's about the passion for the sport and what you're doing, that can be channeled in the right place.
It can, yeah.
If it's about going out on the weekend with your mates and then seeing who's the hardest.
Yeah, that's a different thing. That's why it's important.
And you obviously done well as well to put that aside as well, didn't you? You were quite young, and you said about not going out and drinking. And
don't get me wrong. No, I still had my moments when I was out clubbing, and I've been involved in quite a few situations that I shouldn't have been, and stuff like that. It happens, but at the same time, like with my boy, it's kind of that. That's why I believe it's important to have both mother and father growing up. The kid needs a stable home, otherwise they're not going to live a stable life. Don't get me wrong, you do get the odd one that breaks out of it, but it's so easy to not. Do you know what I mean? It's like they can blame it on my childhood. I didn't have a dad growing up, and I can honestly sit there and say my kid will never have to go through that because I'll always be there.
Yeah.
And me and our kid's mother, we have the best relationship ever. We never argue. Even if we have to bicker at each other, the kids will never see it. Do you know what I mean? And that rarely happens. And like I said, we've been together 6 years now, and and for me, but we both have the same. It's so important for the kids to have their dad. And
you're quite
structure,
united. Structure, yeah. No, I totally agree with that. For any of your kids, to be fair, like. But a lot, unfortunately, circumstances dictate different things, don't they? It's good that you're wise about it to try and be conscious about it. And I suppose you had that growing up.
Yeah, that's what it is. I'm lucky that I had that growing up. So I see how my dad treated my mum,
importance of it,
and I've took that away. And this is how I treat my missus. I treat her how my dad treated my mum, and vice versa. And and it's important for my kids to see that.
Yeah.
So it's the moment that cycle breaks, it will stop. Do you know what I mean? It will go pear shaped. Now, like I said, I hope that my little girl as well, my baby girl, that she will see how I treat her mum, and she won't accept nothing less. And with my boy, see see how I treat his mum as well, and he won't give nothing less.
Yeah.
And I won't let him. If I found out that he was treating women wrong, he would certainly be on the wrong end of me, because that's not what I'm bringing up. And it's really important for kids to see that, and for kids that don't have the chance to see that, like I said, not always, but majority of them, they go off and they do bad things. And
people got to work it out. Some people have to work it out for themselves. That's part of the problem.
And I said I'm lucky that I didn't have to. I had my mum and dad to guide me in the right way. And don't get me wrong, I was still a little shit in school. I didn't do well in school at all.
No, I didn't either.
But
I know exactly what you mean.
But let's be honest now. Do you have to do well in school to do well in life?
No, I don't think so.
I know loads of people that have gone off and made successful businesses and they did shit in school. It ain't always about school, and it's about having morals and being. For me, I'm a nice person, and I believe if you're nice enough, one day someone will be nice to you, and that's how I sort of go about things anyway.
I think for me about this success, you don't have to be very well educated, for an example. I think a lot of it is about what you think you deserve from life.
Yeah.
Because if you think you deserve something, you got to go out there and go get it.
Yeah, exactly.
But you're going to be tried and tested.
Course,
that's how the game works. But I don't think you need to go to university to do well in life.
No.
You don't have to be the cleverest person in the room. I think you got to have heart. I think that's one of the most important things.
You just got to be willing. Whatever it is you want to do, you just got to be willing to put in the work and do it, because nothing's going to come for free. You got to graft, and you got to do what you got to do. I mean,
even the bare knuckle, like you get absolutely smashed up in a fight, and you go back and you go do exactly the same thing again.
But the thing is, I'll do that, and then the following Monday I'm back at work with a face like a fucking butcher's block. But you got to do what you got to do, because at the end of the day, if at the moment I stop working, that stops putting food on my kid's table. And as much as I enjoy the bare knuckle fighting and stuff like that, at the minute it's not paying enough for me to stop work. So I've still got to work. And
so what you do? Because you're not doing the labouring anymore.
No, I'm not. I've gone, because I kind of went from hod carrying to security. And then when I get bored of security, I go back to hod carrying. You juggle it around? I juggled it about, but I'm not doing hod carrying anymore. That broke me, that did.
So how did you meet our previous guest, Craig?
So I met Craig on, what was we working on? We was on a film set of Justice League, I believe. I think it was Justice League. And I was just a security guard that was paid to look after a little bit of equipment. And it was funny, actually, because when I first met Craig, he walked up to me and said, "Hi." He said, "You Jack, you're the guy that does the boxing." I said, "Nah." I said, "You've got the wrong person." Because I don't like talking about it to people I don't know.
Right. Why is it?
I don't know. I just don't.
You like to just stay low key with
I'm not one of those guys that are like, I'm a boxer. Like,
fair.
It's for me. It's a personal thing, and if you know about it, you know about it. I won't sit there and talk to you and tell you what I do. And then the guy who had told him about me, I said, "Who was that?" He said, "That's Craig." He said, "He's the big boss." I said, "Oh fuck." He went, "Why?" He said, "What'd you say to him?" I said, "Well, he asked me about the boxing," and I said, "No." I said, "I don't box." And I said, "Who told you that?" He said, "Luke Keeley did." And I said, "Oh, he's a fucking liar." He went, "Oh, Jack," he went, "For fuck's sake." He went, "Yeah." He said, "Go, when you see him, go speak to him." So I went and spoke to him, and I apologised and just explained, "Look, I don't like talking about it to people." And we just got on straight away from there. And we see each other around on a few other jobs and stuff like that, on a few different sets. And that's what he got talking to me about, his Marines and the close protection work that he does. And it's because I was watching him around the set, and I see him turn up in a nice car, see the respect he had from directors, producers, actors. Fuck me, this geezer's on it. And it was like, for me, I was young, I was only about 18. I thought, I want to be like that.
Yeah.
I want to be like that. Yeah, about 18 or 19 I was. And so for me, it was kind of like a role model in a way. And I got his number, and we started following each other on social media and stuff like that. And then obviously that's what initially put the seed into my head about joining the army.
Oh, okay. How it all started.
But it took a couple of years for me to eventually build up to actually wanting to do it. Because obviously I had to getting myself fit and all that stuff, and over time. And it was because of Craig, meeting Craig and doing all that is what initially put the idea of joining the army, because I saw what he had. And I knew what he had to go through to get it.
Yeah, that's right.
I'll put myself through the same thing, and hopefully I can do the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but obviously it didn't quite play out like that.
Well, everyone's kind of got their own journeys they're on.
Yeah, they have. Yeah, definitely.
So were you working with him at one point then?
Yeah, so I worked for him. He had a job offer come up on a residential place in New Providence Wharf in London.
Right.
And he needed a 5-man security team there. And he called me up and said, Jack, I'm going to put you in with the security team. He said, I want you to be the leader. I was like, fucking hell. It's the first time I had to be in charge of anything.
How old were you then?
This was 2019, just before COVID came along.
Right.
So how old was I?
20...
About 4 years ago, so about 24.
24.
And I was in charge. I was in charge of this security team. But even though I was in charge, I just said to the lads, I was like, look, even though I'm got team manager, we're all one.
Yeah,
we're security. We're not. No one's better than no one. No one's bigger than whatever we all go through. We all fucking go through it. Do you know what I mean? We're all here. We're all doing the same job.
Team.
Exactly, we're a team.
Yeah.
I've just got to deal with the managers and stuff. That's the only difference. And it was a really successful job until COVID came along and fucked the contract up.
Right.
But it was working for Craig was the best person I've probably worked for, because he's very much like myself. I'm a brutally honest person, and if something went wrong on a job, and he'd ring me up and he'd be like, Jack, who did that? And I'd be like, I did it.
Yeah, you just hold your hands up.
I'd be like, I did it, and I said, oh, sorry, mate, like, take my licks, and that's it. And Craig's always loved that about me. He's always like, he knows he'll get the truth if he speaks to me.
You build trust that way.
Yeah, exactly. Not that there was a lot of stuff to discuss,
of course.
But it's whenever there was. Even to this day, I'm always still brutally honest about stuff. I'm gutted really that contract was short-lived.
Do you know what? I think with stuff like that as well, and I've got exactly the same work ethic, and we're all human, we all make mistakes.
Yeah.
But I think it's always about how you deal with it after.
Yeah, exactly.
That counts, not the actual mistake itself.
Yeah, definitely. And
but it was short-lived work. It was
short-lived. We was there originally for 6 months because there was a problem there, because it was a private residential site, but it was like a horseshoe shaped, and on the side of it you had like a council estate block of flats, and you used to get all the young lads running around in this area selling drugs to people, and they wanted it gone. So that's what we were there to deal with, and we dealt with it pretty quickly, and the residents and all that lived there loved us. But so we did it for 6 months. We got it all done, and they was going to renew the contract. They was going to renew it for another year. But obviously COVID came along and everything went in lockdown. Yeah, and that was that. Shut everything down. So gutted really, because it's the best job I had. It's probably one of the most well-paid jobs I've ever had as well.
Was it?
Yeah.
And so what? And this security work, was it? You said you was on film sets.
Yeah, I've done film sets. I've done door work.
Have you?
Over the years? Yeah, I've seen some pretty horrible things.
Have you had to look after many?
Yeah. So in the film world, I should have written down really the ones I've looked after. But I had my most favourite one was. When I got to look after Jackie Chan. I looked after him when they were filming The Foreigner in London.
Oh, in London.
In London, and that was, I looked after him, I think, for 2 days. I was on that. And all I had to do, I was just on, they normally have a green room, as they call it in the film world. It's a place where the actors can go and chill out and stuff like that in between sets. But he had a greenhouse. He had someone's house. He had the whole house to himself. And I was on the front door, and I was to make sure that the only people that could come in were his entourage and his team. No one else.
Right.
No one else from film crew, and even police. No one was allowed in there. And police actually came and asked if they could come and have a picture of him, and I refused them. Told them no.
Really?
And because of that, I grew quite a close relationship with his personal assistant, who I still speak to today, Diana. She's lovely, she is. But for me, that was probably... I've never really been one to be starstruck by meeting actors. I look at them like they're people. And because they are people. They just do a fucking wicked job. And I've always found when you speak to these actors and stuff, you go, hello, mate, how's your day going? They talk to you back like a normal person. If you go, oh, mate, I'm a really big fan, they're like, oh, thank you, and they walk off. You engage them, and like, how's your day going? How's jobs? All right? Like, how you getting on? Like, so they sit and have a chat with you. And that's what I found out with it quite early on in the film world. And that was the same with Jackie, even though I grew up watching Jackie Chan Adventures. So, and all the Rush Hour films and all like them sort of stuff. Yeah. And for me, it was like I was a little bit starstruck with this one, but I still had to keep my cool. And yeah, I had a good little conversation with him, and I mean, the initial part of me meeting him was quite funny because I was actually my boss at the time pranked me. He said, right, Jack, this is where you're going to be today. You're going to be on the greenhouse looking after Jackie. Make sure no one comes in, blah, blah, blah. He said, Jack, but when he comes up to you and you initially meet him, he said, do not shake his hand. He said, you have to bow. He said, because of his culture and all this sort of stuff and this, that and the other. He said, you have to bow. He said, please do not shake his hand. I was like, oh, really? I've really got to do that. And I remember I was standing on the door. He come walking around with his entourage. He had his big grin on his face. And I half put my hand out like that. And in the end, I was like, oh, fuck it, bosh. Bowed at him. And he just started laughing his head off. And I've looked up and my boss and 2 other security guards are hiding behind his man laughing their head off as well. And they just played a prank on me. But Jackie saw the funny side to it as well. And he actually bowed back. And yeah, and it went from there.
Fair
really.
play to him though, at least.
At
least he's got a sense of humour.
Yeah. But I managed to have a little conversation with him about boxing and all that sort of stuff. 'Cause he's quite a big fan of boxing, and yeah, it was a nice couple of days. I mean, being a security guard on the film world can be shit, but when you have days like that, it makes up for it. Do you know what I mean?
The whole thing.
And he gave me a little key ring, and he bejazzled my phone up at the time with a load of Jackie Chan stickers. My phone was on charge in the kitchen where he was chilling out. And obviously I had to come back and forth. I left it on charge. Come back, my phone was gone. Where the fuck's my phone? Looking around, asked Diana. No one's seen it. Asked the entourage. I'm starting to get a little bit annoyed now. I think, fuck me, someone's nicked my phone. And then Jackie's like, over here. He's got my phone. He's putting Jackie Chan stickers all over the back of it. Cheers, mate. Thanks a bunch. I wanted that. But no, I've got a new phone now. This was quite a few years ago, so I've got a new phone since then. But yeah, it was quite funny looking back at it, and yeah, like little memories like that on the film world is what makes up for all the shit times I've had to work on them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So it's definitely the kind of funner side to the job for sure.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
And what, you still doing the security?
I do security now, but not on the film world. I'm just looking after the like little block of flats. It's not even a proper security job. It's they call it waking watch, and it's these buildings need to have like people to patrol them just to keep out for fire hazards and stuff like that, and to help the fire brigade if there is a fire, pretty much. So
and the fighting, like, so you so obviously you had your first fight. How many fights have you? How many bare knuckle fights?
Bare knuckle fights I've had now. I've had 6.
6.
I've had 6 bare knuckle fights. I've won 4, lost 1, drawn 1.
Right.
So yeah. My last one was March, just gone.
Was it?
Yeah. And that was the one I lost.
What was the opponent like on there?
Very awkward. Most awkwardest opponent I've ever come across. He was like they pulled him in on 4 days' notice.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. In the build up to that camp was no fighter goes into a fight 100%, or injuries always come up left, right, and centre. But going into that camp, I didn't take my diet seriously like I normally would do. I just thought, well, I'm big, I can fight big, I know I'm fast, I know I'm this, I know I'm that, and I thought I'd get away with it. And to be fair, if I was fighting someone my stature, I probably would have got away with it. But they brought in this guy, like I said, I had 6 opponents pull out in the build-up to that fight, plus 6.
Jesus.
And they got this guy in, I think, on 4 days' notice. And he was 6'6", 15 stone, so he's very athletic, but skinny athletic. And he had the most awkwardest style. He was switching from orthodox to southpaw. He was here, he was there, he was over here. He was
unpredictable.
He was so unpredictable to deal with. And the fight itself wasn't terrible. I mean, he cut my eye in the first round, split my eye straight open, and it was the first time, even though I'd had damage before, it's the first time I've had a cut in the eye.
Right.
Blood was going into my eye, and it was making my vision go blurry.
Yeah.
So I had to kind of spend the rest of the first round in limbo, not really engaging, just keeping myself protected, because I know I'm going to go back to the corner, they're going to fix it, I can see again, I'll go again in the second round, is how I looked at it. And that's what happened. Got to the second round, they fixed my eye, I go back out, and we stayed, same thing, having a good fight. I caught him with a shot, and his legs went. I thought, I've got him now. Steamed in, trying to finish him, left myself wide open. He's just come. I caught him with a shot, and he sort of half stumbled. And as he stumbled, he threw his uppercut from down here, bang, clean on the chin, and that was it, gone.
Knockout.
It was classed as a knockout. He dropped me. I literally just did like a little 360 spin, landed on my hands and knees, and I tried to move my legs, and my legs were gone. I couldn't move them, and I remember shaking my head in disbelief that I've just been dropped. First time in my whole career I've ever been dropped.
Yeah.
And I was shaking my head in disbelief, and I think it was a wrong thing to do as well, because now I think the referees taking that as I don't want to fight no more. Even though I wouldn't have been able to get up anyway. My legs were gone. But it's just a wrong sign. You shouldn't shake your head when you get dropped. Do you know what I mean? It's just one of them. Bang the canvas if you're going to do anything, but yeah, shaking your head after being dropped ain't the right thing to do. So
how did you deal with the loss?
I think I took it quite well. But even then, that's only down to the team I had around me. If I remember walking out of that ring, I didn't even look at anyone in the crowd. I just looked down on the floor, walked back to the changing rooms, got my eye fixed. They put the strips and that over my eye, and then I remember going back into the changing rooms, and I remember saying to my missus, because my missus come and did my corner with my trainer. I remember saying to her, I said I'm going to go home. I said, I'm going to come, let's get our stuff and we'll go home. She went, no. She went, a lot of people have paid to come and watch you. Go out and see them all. And I honestly, I was going to get my shit and I was going to go.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
I was so, it's an embarrassing feeling when you get dropped like that in front of thousands of people and millions watching from their phones.
It's still a lot of respect though, regardless.
Yeah, it is.
Of the outcome, isn't it? It's like,
it is, yeah.
You know what fighters have to go through to get to that point is like.
It is, and listen, in the end of the day, it's one of them things. I got caught with a shot, and in bare knuckle, it happens. But in the end, I got dressed. I sorted myself out. I got dressed, and I went out and I saw everyone. I had a little drink, and it was all right. I'm glad I did it. And to be fair, I think with that, I kind of just like. I remember putting a Facebook status up the next day saying, "Well, that didn't go to fucking plan, did it?" But so I sort of laughed it off.
Make it light.
I laughed it off, but even there, like obviously stuff like that, it knocks your confidence when you get beat like that.
Yeah, but I think it's important not to fall into that turmoil, you know, like because otherwise, how do you get back up again? Like
exactly, yeah.
So
exactly, you just got to deal with it.
Yeah,
just got to deal with it.
I think there's a lot to be said about handling loss, like and dealing with it, because the more you can get a bit more resilience to that, the more you keep going.
The worst thing about it is, us as fighters, we can deal with it. The thing that we hate the most is having to explain ourselves to trolls and people online who want to sit there and go, "Ah, you're fucking shit, you got knocked out," who ain't got a fight in them.
Do you feel like you have to explain yourself?
No, I don't. I used to. I used to sit now I just ignore it.
Yeah.
But at the time, I was like, it made me so angry, and I'd want to reply back all the time, and then but I'm replying to an idiot who's probably sitting in his mum's spare bed.
Hasn't trained.
Who hasn't trained a day in his life, and I'm sitting there and I've got to try and explain. I said, "No, fuck that." But that alone can cause a fighter to go on a downhill spiral.
Yeah.
It's I mean, a lot of fighters have been on the up and up and up, and they're knocking everyone out, and all of a sudden they get beat, and then boom, you never hear from them again because they can't handle the loss and everything else that comes with it. Yeah. And it's a show of your mental strength, I think, if you come back from a loss.
Mental resilience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
And would you say that was your worst injury that you got when your eye got cut?
So far. That's the first time I've been physically cut. Yeah. I mean, I had my nose was busted in my first one, and my eyes and that was swollen up. But yeah, cut wise, that was and I pulled my shoulder out as well in that fight. It was I don't know how it
just swinging.
Yeah, I think it just got caught up in the moment, and it was I went and had it looked at, and it was a rotator cuff injury.
Right.
It's all right now, but I went for a long time period where it was in agony. I couldn't even get my shirt on. Mrs. had to help me get dressed. So it was like that for a long time. But yeah, it's all good now. But
so what? So have you still got plans to carry on fighting?
Yeah, I'm contracted to the BKFC. It's another bare knuckle promotion. It's actually an American promotion. But they've now come over to the UK and they're putting shows on over here. No
plans to go over to America?
I would love to. And do you know what? I had my eyes set on it until I got beat. Because I'm very much like, a lot of people, they love to talk shit. I don't. I won't talk shit about fighters. And I'm like, look, there was a guy who signed for the BKFC, a heavyweight over in America called Ben Rothwell, who's an ex-UFC fighter. Big name. Thought, I'll have some of him. I want to fight him. I called him out. Didn't get nothing back from him. I thought, leave it at that. He knew that I called him out because I think he liked the post, but I didn't get nothing back about it. I'll leave it at that. And then I got beat. And everyone's like, what you want to do now, Jack? And I was like, well, I ain't fucking calling anyone else out. I said, I need to bring myself back and get another win before I can put myself back into that position of being able to call people out and go to places and demand things. Yeah. All the time you're coming off a loss, who are you to demand anything?
That's why you've got no leverage.
You've got no leverage, exactly. Yeah. So I was like, a lot of people were saying to me, talking about me challenging for the world title, the guy who's just won the world title. And I'm like, mate, I'm fucking nowhere near it. Mm-hmm. Maybe in about 5 fights' time, because you don't... That's the thing, there's not a massive ranking system in bare knuckle.
Right.
And the good thing about bare knuckle as well is you can lose a fight and you can still be relevant. You can still have a chance to come back. Whereas in pro, it's unless they got a rematch clause, there's a lot more politics in professional than what there is in bare knuckle.
Yeah.
And Mick Terrell is the guy who last weekend won the BKFC World Heavyweight title. He went over to America and fought and beat the guy. So now the title's in England.
Nice.
Which means it will be a lot easier for a UK fighter now to get a shot at that title, because there's obviously you have it's a little bit of where we're going to put the show on. Is it going to sell? This and the other. Now they've got the champion in the UK. It'd be a lot easier to put a heavyweight title fight on in the UK now.
So what, you got your eye?
Listen,
you'd fight. Well, you'd fight.
I would fight for it. I would fight for it. I'd fight anyone. But at the same time, I've got a fight coming up in April. I've got to win that. I've got to get at least another 3 or 4 wins under my belt.
I do.
I think so. I believe in myself. Yeah, to be considered.
Is that what you and your coach agree on? Like, you're on the same page with that? Or
yeah,
or do you generally have to make the decisions for stuff like this?
No, see, I run everything past my coach.
Right. Yeah.
Everything, even like fights. If I feel like it's someone easy, I will still won't agree to do it until Pete gives the green light.
Go ahead. Yeah.
At the end of the day, he's the man who's got to train me for it. And
he knows you well enough now as well, doesn't he?
Exactly. So, but we're in the same thing. We know what we've got to do. We know what we've got to do. We know we've set goals physically where I've got to be regarding my weight and my fitness and all that sort of stuff, which I've got to go away and do. And then once we've agreed on, we need to get a couple of fights. I've got a 3-fight contract with them. Let's see after the 3 fights, see where we're at, and then we'll go from there. And that's how it is at the minute. So the talks of title fights and stuff like that is fucking.
What keeps you going in all of this? Like because you can't just be all about the money, because
I do enjoy it.
Yeah,
I do enjoy it. Yeah, I do enjoy it. I do enjoy it. I enjoy fighting. I just don't enjoy this bullshit that comes with it, and there is a lot of it. There is a lot of it dealing with tickets.
The political...
Dealing with fucking fighters pulling out. And it's the whole... Just dealing with the show, like waiting. I hate waiting. Like now, even I've been told April. I haven't been given a date, I've just been told April. That could change.
Is it quite volatile in that sense?
It can be. Yeah. It can be. That's what I'm saying. Like the past 2 years of my fight career, I've had one fight because of these reasons. And that's what I don't like. I don't like not knowing. I know they say fighters should keep themselves in shape all the time, and they should. But I go to work and I've got a family to support. I don't have the time always to. I make the time when I've got a fight coming up. But until then, it's like, well, if I haven't got nothing coming up, I'm working and I'm spending more time doing that stuff than what I am trying to train and keep myself fit.
Should you be fighting more regularly?
I would love to be fighting at least 4 times a year.
4 times a year.
3 to 4 times a year, but at the minute I'm lucky if I get it once.
Right. Yeah.
So. Yeah, it's a pain in the arse.
Bring on April then, really.
Yeah,
isn't it?
Fingers crossed. April. Yeah, they even told me an opponent, and I can't say nothing of who it is yet, but I've passed everything over to Pete. I think Pete's happy with it. He knows exactly what it is straight away. He's like, yeah, right, we've got to work on this, we've got to work on that. I'm like, right, sweet. So now I've just got to go back to BKFC and say, yeah, right, we accept it. And
so what are you going to do? Lose another 6 stone in?
I'm not 6 stone. I won't go to 6 stone, but I'm planning to get down to about 17.
About 17.
About 17 stone, I think. Yeah, I think I want to get to 17 because at the end of the day, I'm still heavyweight, and at the minute I'm about just over 21 stone.
Right, okay.
And I want to get back down to 17 stone. And I've got 4 months. And I know I can lose a stone a month easy with my diet and my training. So
Yeah. Just got to get Christmas out of the way.
Yeah, but you know what? Even then, at Christmas, I'm not a big. I have a big Christmas dinner, but I'm not a snacky person.
Yeah.
I don't.
It's terrible.
I don't snack out. I just eat a lot of the wrong things.
Yeah.
That's my problem. Is that I don't eat loads of it. I just eat the wrong shit. But yeah, Christmas. But I'll have a drink of that.
I think sometimes the good thing about training all the time and or training often and regularly, like it counterbalances it a bit as well.
It does. Yeah.
It's important to. I think if you're in your line of work, it's probably important to have a reasonably healthy diet, isn't it?
Of course it is. Yeah, you got to find a good medium.
Yeah.
It's and for me that's hard because where I don't go out drinking and clubbing and all that stuff, my happy place is food.
Yeah, it's exactly the same for me.
And the moment I start eating bad food again, it's like, one more. And yeah, it's like fucking. Sometimes it's hard to bring yourself back out of it because now you go from training camp to being best behaved. Now you can eat what the fuck you want. You put on probably a stone or two. So now you're back in another camp. But when it's probably like that, it's easier. But when it goes from you have one camp, you've had a fight. Now you've had nothing for the rest of the year. That wait period, because I put on weight just as quick as I can lose it. So now instead of me having 4 weeks off and going back into another camp, getting ready for another fight, and only probably putting on maybe a stone and a half in that 4 weeks, and keeping myself still relatively fit, I've now gone a year.
Yeah, completely. Yeah,
a whole year.
So it's still a bit more. So it's a bit more work you got to.
Yeah, so it's a lot more work. Yeah.
Yeah, because who's there's that UFC fighter Paddy.
Paddy Pimblett.
Yeah. And I remember seeing a post about him about how he absolutely shreds for a fight.
Yeah, and he blows right up.
It's
the same as Ricky Hatton. Ricky Hatton used to do the same thing as well. He was they used to call him Ricky Fatten because he would blow up 4 or 5 stone.
Yeah.
In between fights and then still lose all the weight.
Yeah, before the fight.
Yeah, before the fight. Yeah, and it is mad being able to do that. And I mean. I
don't know overall how healthy it is.
It must put a strain on your body over time. But that's what I say. Realistically, you're supposed to keep yourself
at a middle place.
Find a good medium all the time. But for some people, it's hard to do.
Yeah, well, different people enjoy different things, don't they? And
exactly.
That's the thing. Like some people, it's food. Other people, alcohol, drugs, whatever it is. So I can see where the complication kind of lies with stuff like that, but. As long as you take it seriously when it's time to take it seriously, that's what.
But that's it, yeah. That's the main thing, isn't it? But say now we've got 4 months. We've got just over 4 months.
Nice. I'm going to watch it up. Where can we watch this?
So they got the BKFC have an app, TV app, when you can get on your phone and you subscribe to it. I think it's like $4.99 a month, and you get all the live events and stuff like that. But if you want to grab tickets for it, it's only going to be in Milton Keynes.
Oh, is that where it is?
Yeah, it's only Milton Keynes. Okay. I don't think that's too far from here, is it?
No, not at all.
It's being there live, watching it could be a lot better than watching it from your phone.
Right.
It's honest because you hear when you're there, you might not hear it as such when you're watching it. Not just the atmosphere, but you hear the shots.
Yeah.
When someone gets caught properly, you hear the bone on bone, and it's that. Like when you see that in the flesh, you have a lot more respect for it, if that makes sense, and then what you would watching it on YouTube and on TV and stuff like that, you appreciate it a lot more when you see it in person and you see the state of these fighters, how they are when they come out. Some of them are pretty banged up.
It's absolutely incredible what as I say, boxing's I admire boxers, let alone people that are using their actual fists in bare knuckle. So it's fair play to you, mate, fair play to you.
It's a tough sport. But I do enjoy it. I prefer it over gloved boxing all day. But it's a bigger buzz, I think.
Yeah, is it really?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah but it's good.
Well, I wish you all the best for it.
Cheers, mate.
And it's an absolute pleasure to have you on today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, really appreciate it, pal. And I wish you all the best.
Cheers, mate. Thank you very much.
Cheers, pal.